Welcome back to the show. We are super excited for week 7 of college football again. We are back and better than ever on another episode of Thank God for Football. We are super ready for another exciting slate of games this week. A super jam-packed freaking list of games this week. We got so many games to get through, Jay, but we got to rewind what we happened last week too. So welcome again back to the show, Mr. Men in Black Jay. Welcome back, my guy.
How's it going, guys? I appreciate being on the show as always with you, Justin. And let's get right to it. Let's get this thing going.
Absolutely, man. You know, as always, we like to thank the people that support us the most, Jay. The next thing we're going to do is be giving a huge shout out to our guys over at Arden's. They always do a fantastic job supporting us. I know they are looking forward to getting as many of you guys into their store as possible down there in Central South Carolina. Jay, I know you are a huge fan of it, but tell us anything new that's going down over there at Arden's, or is it still just as good as ever?
Always as good as ever. They're coming up with a couple new menu items that'll be coming out pretty soon. A couple new burgers. Wings are always great. Actually, be taking some up to Furman this coming week for women's soccer game because they love them some Arden's Burger and Grill wings. So just go out, support Donnie and Angie, Arden's Burger and Grill, Central South Carolina.
Okay, baby, you love Arden's Burger and Grill because you know what? I got me a sampler platter. That's right. She made me a sampler platter of everything Uncle Bobby loves. Look at there. We got the s'mores French toast. Ooh, we got some wings. And we got the powdered burger. And you know what, Uncle Bobby? He loves you some wings, I'm telling you right now. You will not miss. I'll tell you, the double dip wings will make you double dip crazy. I'm telling you right now, it's the best thing you ever put in your mouth. Oh yeah, and French toast. Hey, they serve breakfast all day long. Uncle Bobby loves them from French toast. And folks, the Paladin Burger. Ooh, blueberry barbecue sauce, smoked Gouda cheese. Yum yum. Make sure you get down here to Arden's Burger and Grill Central. Uncle Bobby, I commend it, recommend it, everything that is amended, I do it here at Arden's Burger and Grill in Central South Carolina. And don't forget, they're going to open a place called Beef and Ribbies. That's right, it's going to be so good it sticks to your ribbies and makes you do this all day long. I'm telling you right now, come to Arden's Burger and Grill.
That's awesome, and we obviously thank those guys for giving us a huge bill of support here on the show. They always do a great job of giving you guys a shout out and always giving our shows and our groups always the support they need. So, Jay, I'm going to let you take away this week for the Southern Conference as well. I know you're going to give us a good recap from the week that was and the week that will be, and that is going to obviously be brought to you guys by Arden's.
Hello everybody, Jay here with the Southern Conference news and notes for this week for TGFF Game Day. Last week in the Southern Conference, Reggie Davis scored the go-ahead touchdown with 43 seconds left to help UTC Chattanooga take edge out ETSU 17-10 in a great game. I tell you what, Chattanooga's now back in the top 25. They're working their way towards the top. And then also Crittenden threw 2 of his 3 touchdown passes to Mason, and Sanford beats VMI 27-3 last week. That was another great game. I think VMI is still a great team. They're just struggling this year mightily. So best of luck to them. And also Sanford, of course, gets their first conference win, as everybody knew that Sanford and Furman did not play their first conference game till this past week. All right, Western Carolina, in a game where there was no fans due to recovery efforts up in North Carolina, was able to get the win over Wofford. This was a great game also. Much props to Wofford for what they did going up there and helping Western Carolina out by still having the game, even though there was not fans in the stands. And then finally, a game that I was at was Furman at Citadel. Trey Hidden, I tell you what, 2 late touchdown passes to help rally his team 17-16. Also, you got to give props to the defense. I tell you what, it was one of those games where Furman just wasn't doing anything in the first half. I think they had like 83 total yards, only 2 yards rushing, and was able to come back in the final moments, give props to the defense. They held Citadel when they needed to, and just 5 3-and-outs there at the end, and was able to help get the offense a chance to go out and win the game. So much props to them. Also, now we go to this week. First game we'll talk about is at 1:30. It's going to be VMI traveling to Wofford. Give me Wofford in this game. I think VMI is still struggling and will need to have a lot happen for them to get the win at Wofford this week. A game that I'll be at, UT Chattanooga comes to Furman. This is a game that Furman needs to have, but actually both teams need to have after struggling out the gate against Group of 5 teams. So I'm kind of torn on this game. I think UT Chattanooga has a lot, but they also have a lot of injuries. Give me Furman in this game to win by a nudge, 3 points or less. Give me Furman in this game. Then we got Citadel going against Western Carolina. Citadel's traveling up to Western Carolina. Also no fans at this game. Western Carolina will get the win in this game. I think they have just enough to get Citadel. It's going to be close also. I don't think there's going to be any real blowouts this week. So give me Western Carolina over Citadel. Sanford travels to ETSU. ETSU lost a heartbreaker last week. I think that changes. They get the win over Sanford and continues to be a team that has to be recognized in all of the Southern Conference and also in the FCS. And finally, Princeton goes to Mercer. Mercer should win this game and continue to be unbeaten, and just a great team. Mercer has really shown what they've got this year, and I think that they have a lot going on. Still some teams that they got to play, but until then, Mercer gets the win this week. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to TGFF every single week. Also, we want to send our prayers out there to our fans and folks over in North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. Also, the big hurricane that's on its way now. We just pray the safety over everybody, and just know that football is secondary when it comes to human life. So we're all in this together. Let's pray for each other. Let's help each other. Give money to the Red Cross and Good Samaritan's Purse. Thank you for watching our Southern Conference News and Notes.
Thank you so much, Jay, for always giving us the insight for the Southern Conference. As always, we appreciate you deep diving in to the things that you know best down there, since you are our Furman guy. Also, shout out to Arden's again. Thank you so much for supporting us as well. Next up, we're going to be able to talk about our friends over at the American Conference with our friends from over at Army. So thank you so much, Sideline Sports Army. This segment is going to be brought to you by Catch This Sports. We appreciate Aries and his group for always supporting the show as well. Catch Jay and Aries on their Orange Shades podcast as well. But thanks again for all the information, and thanks for giving us the updates on the American.
What's up, TGFF? This is the old Army brat, Cuthbert from Sidelines Army. I'm here to talk to you about this week's slate in the American Athletic Conference. As a quick recap of last week, as a reminder, we had a lot of teams on the bye. We're going to see that again this week. Looking at last week's game of the week, Navy absolutely throttled Air Force 34-7. Interestingly enough, this was not the blowout that had been anticipated. I mean, it was a 28-point margin of victory, so a significant blowout, but not the 49-3 that had been predicted by some people. Blake Horvath once again delivered, going 9 of 15 for 134 yards in the air. He had 19 rushes for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. He absolutely needs to be in the conversation for Heisman. I mean, at this point, it's clearly, or should clearly, be going to a running back from Idaho, the state of Idaho, that is. But that's a G5 player, so we all know that's not going to happen. Meanwhile, Eli Heidenreich became the first player in Navy history to both rush for 100 yards and have 100 yards receiving in the same game. He put up 100 and 101 respectively. Navy, despite a 28-point margin of victory, they only went 4 of 12 on third down. They had 10 drives, 5 touchdowns, 0 for 1 in field goals, and they did win the time of possession battle, but at just over 30 minutes, it was not decisive. So while the victory was decisive, it was not a perfect scorecard, to say the least, but they are continuing to steamroll forward. Navy is on a bye this week, so it'll be interesting to see if they start to put some new wrinkles into their Sling T offense. They don't really have any injuries this year of significance, but all teams benefit from a bye. So I'm sure they're going to come back in 2 weeks and be ready to roll. The other game to watch that I'd mentioned was Charlotte against East Carolina. Now, this was predicted to be a walkaway by East Carolina, who preseason had been potentially a dark horse contender in the AAC championship. They kind of stumbled a little bit out of the gate, but seemed like they were starting to put things together. Then Biff Poggi and the 49ers came in and absolutely laid the smackdown. They beat them 55-24, standing room only at the Jerry. As the newest member of the American and an Army fan, I didn't know that Charlotte and East Carolina have such an impassioned rivalry. Apparently they do, and I'm here for it. I don't know where this team has been all year that's putting up 55 against frankly, a quality opponent in East Carolina. But Charlotte really delivered. Specifically, they just dominated on the ground. They had 52 rushes for 311 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, you'd think they were a service academy the way they were running that ground game. They also were able to pick off East Carolina twice. Deshaun Purdy did well in the quarterback slot, 13 for 22 for 206. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but he didn't throw any interceptions either. And really the star of the game was Hashawn Wilson, 15 carries, 164 yards, 3 touchdowns. So Charlotte's got a pulse. This is fantastic. I love it as a fan of the American. And then the last game from last week that I had talked about was going to be Army-Tulsa, because, come on, go Army. Absolute domination, 49-7. Bryson Daly, who, like Horvath from Navy, should honestly start to maybe be creeping into the Heisman discussion. Do I realistically think he has a chance to win it? Obviously not. But looking at his numbers, we're talking about 5 for 5 for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also went over 100 more on the ground with a couple of touchdowns. I think he already has 10 for the year in 5 games. I mean, he is leading this team from the front, and it shows. Kanye Udo, who was awakened last week 2 weeks ago against Temple, and then he has 2 different touchdowns over 60 yards. 6 total carries for 137 and 2 TDs. He balled out. And then Noah Short, who's our dynamic playmaker, he didn't have any big long runs like he's had in other games. He did, however, have 3 catches for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns, which included an absolutely beautiful 58-yard swing pass where I think he even caught the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and he just turned north and nobody's catching him. And he went 58 yards. I mean, it was technically a reception, but he did that 100% on his legs. Army had 9 drives, 2 punts, and 7 touchdowns, and they did it with less than 25 minutes time of possession. So I don't know exactly what team I was watching, but I was happy to be watching it. Go Army, beat Tulsa. Other scores around the league, Temple drops a heartbreak to UConn last week. Talk about a bad beat. Obviously, it's UConn and Temple, so you probably didn't watch the game. No fault there. Temple was down 23-20 with 2 seconds to go in the game from about the 2-yard line. And the thought process was, all right, we're going up the middle. And we're either going to get these 2 yards and get the touchdown and win as time expires, or we're going to get stood up. Instead, what happened is they fumbled. It was recovered by UConn and returned for a touchdown. So again, I'm not a bettor, but you want to talk about a bad beat. You go from Temple is potentially going to win this game 26-23 on the final play, and instead UConn wins 30-20. So if you are a bettor and if you were taking the spread in that, I hope you didn't lose your house. And then last but not least is Tulane absolutely unloading on the University of Alabama, Birmingham. UAB gave up 71 to Tulane. Trent Dilfer, I think, has probably got to start feeling the heat. He's in his second year. I really like him as a coach. He is a culture guy. He is the kind of coach who stands by his players, who will look a Power 5 team in the eye and say, you want to come for my guys? You want to try and snatch them out of the transfer portal? You go right ahead, because, these are my warriors, and they're going to fight for me, and I'm going to lead them, and the whole thing. But unfortunately, it's not translating on the football field. Tulane dropped 180 yards passing, 317 yards rushing, talking about over 10 touchdowns worth of points. It's not even a game. So we're looking now into week 7. This is going to be another big week for the American in terms of how many teams are on the bye. So there's not that many games to look at. So rather than doing games of the week, we're just going to do all the games. The big storylines this week. So we have Memphis and USF, and they're coming off a bye. Now, here's the thing. Everything that I'm going to say right now needs to be with the caveat that it is Sunday. So everything I just talked about happened yesterday, and there's a bunch of stuff that might happen this upcoming week that I'm going to miss. But living in greater Tampa Bay, Hurricane Milton is bearing down. So this is going to be an early entry. But Memphis is coming off a bye. 2 weeks ago, they lost the heartbreak to Navy. Presumably, they're going to come back angry and hungry and ready to do work. And they're traveling to Tampa to play USF. I'll be interested to see if this game actually happens. Hurricane Milton could absolutely just disrupt the whole thing, and we could see a cancellation. If we don't, the next big question is Byron Brown going to be playing? USF has been completely mum to the extent or severity of his injury. We don't know if he's going to be back. He's had an extra week to get healthy, which is great, but if he's got a fractured ankle, he's not getting healthy from that in 2 weeks. So right now, the line opened at Memphis -6. It's unclear if this game is even going to get played. If it does, it's going to be a lot of questions. It's going to be a lot of question marks. So we'll see how it goes. UAB is coming up to Army. Out of the frying pan and into the fire, I guess. They just got walloped by Tulane. Now they're coming up to Army. Army opens at -24.5, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't bet, and as I told you last week, I definitely wouldn't bet with an option team. There's too many variables for when it could be a blowout or a close game. But Army, admittedly with a weak schedule up to this point, they're putting up just shy of 39 points a game, and they're giving up just shy of 10 points a game. So maybe 24.5 ain't that bad. The question is, can Coach Monken keep it up? Can he keep his guys angry and hungry and ready to perform? By and large, I think the Army coaching staff does a fantastic job of this. But when you're 5-0 and you're winning games the way Army's winning them, you got to start to question if at some point guys are taking things for granted. Guys are, giving half effort at practice. I'd like to think that Jeff Monken's not going to allow that, but who knows? North Texas has FAU this week. This is looking like it's also probably going to be a walkover. I did say that about ECU and Charlotte. I could be totally wrong. North Texas opens as a 7-point favorite. They're giving 7 to the Owls. I mean, North Texas is averaging 340 yards passing, 165 yards rushing, and 41 points a game. Meanwhile, Florida Atlantic is allowing 134 yards passing, 222 on the ground, and giving up about 23.5 points a game. So all of the metrics seem to be showing that this is going to be UNT's game to lose. Interestingly enough, with Florida Atlantic only allowing 134 passing, I actually think that that's because they give up 222 on the ground. And what's happening is that their competition is going, hey, their run defense is relatively soft, so we're just going to run the ball because it's safer. We can control the ball. We can control the clock. And so as a result, they just pass less often. So it might look like, oh, they only give up 134 passing, but that might just be a symptom of the fact that they can't stop the run, so people aren't passing. We'll see how that one goes. And then the last game in the conference is going to be Rice versus UTSA. UTSA is opening as a 4-point favorite. They are absolutely disappointing based on the preseason predictions. Rice appears to not even be playing football anymore, at least based on the fan attendance and the scores. I don't want to poo-poo teams in my conference, but Rice is 1-4 overall. UTSA 2-3. As we've been saying around my house, it looks like the rice is cooked. So I'm not expecting that to be an upset, but you never know. And that just about does it for me. In the meantime, I'm going to keep battening down the hatches here and getting ready for Milton, and hope that his path is a little more forgiving than Helene's was, at least for me personally. Obviously, thoughts, prayers, and any assistance you can give to anybody who's been affected by the last hurricane or the one that will have come and gone by the time you're watching this. Please do. In the meantime, go Army. Beat, I don't even remember who we're playing this week. UAB. Beat UAB.
Welcome again back to the show. Again, thanks so much to our good friends over at Sideline Sports Army for giving us their update on the American Conference. Also, a huge shout out again to Play It Again Sports with Mr. Aries Curry as well. Thanks again for being a sponsor for that. But Jay, you had a special chance this week to sit down with the actual Southern Conference Commissioner. Mr. Cross was able to talk with you guys this week. That segment for our show this week is going to be brought to you by Redbubble, but guys, this is a great interview. It was a fantastic bit of information, and we'd like to thank the Southern Conference Commissioner for taking his time to sit down with us and give us the updates on things that are going on in the world of the FCS. So thanks again, Mr. Cross.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to TGFF Game Day. I am Jay. This is SoCon John. We are honored today to have Commissioner of the Southern Conference, Michael Cross. How are we doing, Commissioner?
Jay, great to see you. Great to be here with you, John, and I appreciate the chance to talk about all things Southern Conference.
Well, first off, we appreciate you joining us. Tell us, as we all know, Hurricane Helene came in, caused a lot of damage across a lot of the Southern Conference schools. Tell us what people can do to help out those in need by also helping the Southern Conference.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking, Jay. It's, there's a lot of people who are going through incredibly difficult times right now. Southern Conference has put together an initiative, and there's a lot of people out there doing things, but, we've partnered with an organization called World Central Kitchen, and they're providing 3 meals a day. They're cooking for countless people in the Asheville area, and, as you know, Asheville is an important city for us as it relates to our championships. We're up there every year for the basketball championships. We've got a partnership that we're starting on some other championships as well, and we want to try and do what we can to help people. So if people are inclined to donate, we'd love to see them do so. Our web address for them to do that is donate.wck.org and then /Southern Conference. So donate.wck.org/Southern Conference. And they'll find all their information there about how they can make a donation and support the World Central Kitchen's relief effort. So appreciate you asking that for sure.
Well, one thing we want to do is also our prayers go out to everybody that's been affected by this. I know there's still a lot of people that are still without power, still without knowing if their loved ones are okay. So we just send our prayers and thoughts out to them, everybody, not only in the Southern Conference area, but all over this area. First off, Commissioner, this past couple weeks, you received the Knight Commission Care Model Award. Tell us a little bit about that honor.
Yeah, Jay, I appreciate the question. It's the Knight Commission has been around for 40 plus years at this point, and they're one of the primary values-based organizations in college athletics, and they're really focused on the education, health, safety, and success of student athletes. And they put together a program that it's called the CARE Champion Award. CARE stands for Connecting Athletics Revenue with Education. And they have gone out and asked, there's an application process you have to go through to show that you're actually using the revenues that are being generated in a meaningful way and in a substantial way toward supporting student athletes and their educational endeavors. So we're very excited about receiving the award. We're one of the 2 conferences that have received full membership in their inaugural presentation. So that was great. That happened a couple weeks ago. And, the things that really stand out, the one thing we take great pride in is, the NCAA is going to start awarding units like they do in men's basketball on the women's basketball side. And the expectation is that we would provide equal revenue shares for men's and women's basketball success. And that is something that our conference is taking a leadership stance on going to do going forward. So appreciate the acknowledgement from the Knight Commission for sure. And, ultimately it's really a testament to our institutions. They're the ones who are making these decisions. They're the ones who are treating our athletes in incredibly good ways and making sure that their education is first and foremost. So credit to all 10 of them for what they're doing to make this happen. And, we're excited about being acknowledged for sure.
Commissioner, since we're in the, right in the meat of football season, I know the Southern Conference has played I'm really impressed by how the schools have gone out and scheduled and really challenged themselves. Having said that, the SoCon's trying to kind of reestablish its, power maybe at the FCS level since losing App State and Georgia Southern. And they've been able to do that the last couple of years. This year you have a North Dakota State go into East Tennessee State. And it was a very good football game. East Tennessee comes up a little bit short in that one, 38-35. When we come down to Selection Sunday, how will that be packaged? I know that there have been some close losses. Will that be packaged in a way to show that, hey, the Southern Conference, even though we've lost a couple of close games to Montana and North Dakota State, we're right there? And how will you package that to the selection committee, and what will the Southern Conference do to address that?
The selection process first is really challenging. I have great sympathy and empathy for the selection committee. Football, as great as a sport as it is, the biggest challenge you've got in trying to make these types of choices is the lack of data points. You don't have lots of crossover games and crossover opportunities like you see in basketball, where you're playing 30-some games a year and there's lots of opportunity to play non-conference opponents. So, we've done well this year as it relates to our non-conference performance. There's a couple that got away that were very close, and those will be factors as you get down to the finish line. I think in a year where you've got 12 games, if you're a team that's got 8 wins or more, you're feeling pretty good about where you are. And I'd like to think that, at some point as we get to the end of the year and all 12 games have been played by everybody, that we've got, a good number of teams that have those 8 wins and meet that criteria. That will allow us to have teams, hopefully get some buys in the first round, host some first round games, and position us well for postseason success. Obviously, Furman had, an incredible run last year, and, you've got to take advantage of every opportunity that's in front of you, and that's conference games or non-conference games. And, I think our schools scheduled the right way. They gave themselves the opportunity to compete in these contests and in good situations. And, it's not just us in a vacuum. It's, us compared to all of these other conferences. And there's a lot of football still to be played, but we meet on a weekly basis. We share our perceptions about what's happening with our regional representative for the FCS Football Championship Committee. We share that information with our representative, Mark Wharton, who's the athletic director at Tennessee Chattanooga, to make sure he's well armed with information. So we've got 4 staff members that are putting time into making sure that there's really good, compelling reasons why, 3, 4, 5 SoCon teams should be considered for postseason access when we get down to those decisions in November.
Commissioner, the direction of Division I football is a lot different than basketball. Is it possible to have different changes within the structure of Division I college football while keeping intact the status of the SoCon as a thriving mid-major power and March Madness Cinderella at the same time?
Well, college football, it's got this natural break in it right out of the gate. There's this FBS dynamic, there's this FCS dynamic. What's happening right now with the settlement, NCAA settlement that's been preliminarily approved is a lot of the questions around what is football going to look like are being raised in a variety of venues, including the commissioner rooms, where we're talking about, what does it mean to have a game if you're an FBS institution against an FCS institution and have that game, quote unquote, count toward bowl eligibility? That's a key piece for us as we go and play, some of those FBS opponents. So that piece is an important one for us for sure. The interrelated recruiting is a real thing. The transfer portal and the movement between FBS and FCS in both directions is a real thing. And so, the changes in football don't necessarily impact us as a quote unquote mid-major power or a March Madness Cinderella around the sport of football. FCS football is not really championship-wise impacted by what happens at the FBS level, which is good for us and serves us well. We should, again, as we talked about just previously, have multiple bids. As we start to talk about the other sports, whether that's basketball, whether that's, soccer, golf, tennis, whatever it might be, the distinctions from an organizational standpoint and governance standpoint are not there like they are in football. And so that's where you get into that mid-major conversation.
With basketball, it's a good kind of segue with basketball starting up soon. Over the past, I think last couple of years, I think there were 59 transfer outs last year. But it's going to become more of a trend each and every year of guys, transferring out, but also guys coming into the league. And actually last year, I think the SoCon gained 8 places in KenPom, actually going up. So I think they went from 20 to 13 or 20 to 12 or something like that. My question is, if you have that happening every year, is it sustainable to be a regular mid-major conference power?
Good question. I think sustainable, there's going to be ebbs and flows. Even the best team, the best conference, whoever you think that might be, isn't always the best conference every year. Some people think the Big 12 is the best basketball conference. So that's not the case every year. It's not the case for the ACC. It's not the case for the Big East. Choose the conference you want to reference. So there's inevitably going to be movement up and down as it relates to the rankings and the computer-generated, analytics and those types of things based on how you perform. So the importance of first and foremost having exceptional coaches and leadership is crucial to what you try and do. And if you don't have a good coach who can, create a coherent strategy, recruit players that fit what they're trying to do, you're going to have a hard time being successful. And related to that is, attracting the best players possible. I mean, it's not a secret that 9 times out of 10, the best players getting off the bus are going to win when they actually get in the gym and start playing. So, having talent that is, good and improving every year is important. And recruiting is not an exact science. Recruiting is part art, part science, and, probably part hope and prayer, to tell you the truth. Like, you think you see some things in particular ways, player gets in, do they mesh with people? Do people like being in the gym with each other on a daily basis? I mean, basketball is a chemistry sport. So if you've got good chemistry, you can do some good things pretty quickly. And if you don't have good chemistry, you can have all the talent in the world and you're going to struggle to be successful. So there's a lot of moving parts there. And look, the undercurrent of all this is really, player, we'll call it player compensation, even though people don't like that. But, the money that is being made available to players through NIL is real. And that's a factor that didn't exist, as recently as 5 years ago, and is going to be a factor going forward for the foreseeable future of college athletics in very significant ways. So we're going to continue to punch above our weight. I feel good about our commitment and seriousness. Our athletic directors look at these things, but you're going to have to be diligent and be on your deeds every day for sure.
Commissioner, the college landscape, as we know it, is changing. What as a conference does the SoCon look for in a possible expansion school? Does the school have to be great at football, or do you look at to grow in other sports? Well, like, we have some teams that are playing in like the Big South because we don't have enough, I guess, teams for lacrosse. And is that something you look at, or is it just trying to grow the football, baseball, and basketball presence, which is what most people tell you that's what brings the money to the schools?
Well, everybody likes to talk about this, and clearly there's a lot of movement happening with what happened with the Pac-12 and the Mountain West and those types of things. These are complicated decisions that really go well beyond individual sports and those types of things. Revenue is a factor for sure. Institutional fit matters. The academics matter. The geography matters. I mean, one of the great strengths that the Southern Conference has is geography, and we don't have any teams that have to get in a plane to play. And there was a time where it was sort of like, oh, you're referred to as a bus league, and people look down on you. In this day and age with the cost of college athletics, being a bus league is a plus. Like, your kids are in class, you're able to operate in good resource situation where you're not having to overspend on flights all over the place. And so those are positives and wins for us for sure. Expansion-wise, I really think about it in two very simple terms. One is you either want to expand because of opportunity, and you want to avoid having to expand or change your membership because of necessity. Yeah. And if you can think about it in those ways, it gives you an ability to understand, okay, why would you go and look at school A versus school B? And conferences are trying to figure out what makes the most sense for them, and they've got all different strategies around those things. Our strategy is very much a Southern strategy. Our strategy is very much one that is predicated on quality of the educational experience and the academics and the leadership of our institutions and the geography, and making sure that people are within our footprint and we're not torturing our boundaries to go from one coast to the other or things like that. It's not a criticism what other people are doing. They've got different models and different approaches, but for us, being true to those types of things is going to be a key piece as we think about who might join us in the future.
Just kind of piggyback off that question, there's a lot of talk out there about the SoCon is unique in that it's got a balance of a lot of different academic backgrounds and a lot of different public and private type profiles. How important is that balance, or is it an important factor at all when you look at a potential team that you might add?
Yeah, I think you're going to get a different answer to that question depending on who you ask, John. If it's, what do I personally think about? I'm okay with public or private or military. Like, we've got all three represented, and there is currently a balance. I think sometimes when people think about these types of things, it's one of, you're not just taking one institution, you might take two to try and maintain that balance. I'm less concerned about the balance piece, but I think our institutions may think about that a little bit more than I do. But from my perspective, do you meet the other criteria? Are you in the footprint? Do you have good leadership? Are you invested in your athletics programs? Are you committed to the educational and academic aspects? We mentioned the Knight Commission Care Champion model before. There's real pieces behind that. Are people invested in that type of notion? Yeah. And if they are, I think we can have a lot of really good conversations about who makes sense for the Southern Conference. And if those aren't the types of things they're about, they're probably not going to make their way through a pretty thorough vetting process and ultimately the legislative process that has to have a very high percentage of our institutions say, yes, we want to have this new institution or institutions join us.
Commissioner, also your thoughts on or updates on the new possible subdivision for FBS football and basketball that you discussed in the media day. If you could give us a little update on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no secret answers here on this one yet, Jay. I mean, the challenge you've got is, clearly the FBS institutions, and in particular the Big Ten and the SEC, are thinking very proactively, very strategically about what they want the future of college athletics to look like. And they're heavyweights in the system. And so what they might do and what they might propose is something that we're paying attention to. There are also, significant numbers of commissioners and other people who are having conversations about what we think that the world should look like.
Yeah.
It's important for us to have championship access first and foremost. It's important for us to be associated with the Division I brand and all the things that come with that. And the revenue that comes from the NCAA is an important component for us as well. So I feel like if we can have that Division I brand, if we've got championship access, if we've got sufficient revenue sharing as it relates to our participation, and we're all playing on the same level playing field as it relates to the competitions themselves. And what I mean by that is, we can't have one football team playing with 11 and another playing with 10. We got to have 11 on 11. Yeah. So if you've got those things, it's kind of like the Olympics. The Olympics have figured this out. They've got different national governing bodies. They've got different geographies. They've got different budgets. And yet they all come together, 100 plus countries and 75 plus sports to play each other once every 4 years.
Yeah.
College athletics is kind of the same thing. If we can do those things, I think we'll be in great shape.
Kind of the final question I had about sort of concerning basketball, but maybe, other opportunities that you get before a national audience. Just how important is it for a league like the Southern Conference that's a strong mid-major, but they don't get as many opportunities of Power 5 or Power 6 conference? How important is it to put on a good, at least visually and from other aspects, the branding of a Monday night championship game in the Southern Conference basketball tournament? That's something that the league has done a tremendous job of, and part of that, is just like you mentioned earlier, geography and fan attendance. But how much of that can you control when you have those opportunities to make the branding of the Southern Conference look the best that it can?
Yeah, I think our championship, there's a few championships nationally that are very iconic as it relates to what they do in their geography. I think the Big East is probably an exceptional example. They go to the Garden every year. It's a tremendous event. Missouri Valley Conference, where I spent 5 years, they go to St. Louis every year and do what they're doing there. Asheville's been an amazing home for us, and we've got some of that type of traction and recognition about the experience you're going to have when you're spending time in Asheville. And that's an important piece of the equation. Working with the folks in Asheville, the Sports Commission, Explore Asheville, Ingles is a tremendous partner of ours. All of those pieces come together to make that event successful. And the ability to tell that story on, linear television, national television, in a really desirable time slot is very important for us. So we would be reluctant to move away from that time slot. We like where it's set up. We like the way the format plays out. We really like having the men and women at the same site at the same time. Not everybody's able to pull that off. So it's a lot of work. You guys have been there. It's an intense, few days for sure. Our staff, gets to Monday after that game, and there's just this, collective exhale about, we made it through, and we've got a champion on both the men and the women, and we're excited about they're going to go and represent us in the tournament. Love to have a second team representing us as well, and that's not out of the realm of possibility, although the challenges of making that happen get greater and greater all the time. So, when you're in a single bid league, and coaches can speak to this better than I can, the intensity and the importance of those games, it just oozes through everything that you're doing. If you're playing the ACC championship game and they're going 6-7 deep, like there's not a lot on the line. It's kind of imaginary. This is real, and this is real for our athletes and our coaches in ways that I think is incredibly high drama, and honestly is as watchable and desirable to see as anything that's happening in college sports. So we hope we will see people in Asheville, and encourage people to check it out as they think about what their plans are going to be for early March this year.
Well, Commissioner, I just got one more question for you. Has the Southern Conference thought of its own game day show, like the conferences around are doing? Is TGF Game Day on the consideration list?
You you want another consideration list? We'll
Yes,
take it.
we'd
We're all
love to
about
go
it.
around and do nothing but football and basketball.
That's all right. Hey, look, football is a big deal for us. Football, we get tremendous viewership. Obviously, the attendance at football is real. The games are high quality. We're a very competitive conference nationally. Like, there's opportunities there for sure. And if you guys want to sit down and hammer out what this looks like, I'm happy to have a conversation with you. So that sounds good to me.
We appreciate it, Commissioner. Oh, one final question. Has anything been said about this year's basketball tournament in Asheville due to all the things that's gone up there? I know it's maybe too early to see, but I know a lot of roads and stuff they said will be closed until 2025.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's premature to speculate about that situation. Obviously, we've got a great partnership with the folks there. Mm-hmm. We're going to do everything that we can to try and have that happen as it normally does. But we've got to take our lead from the people in Asheville as to whether or not they think they can pull this off, and then we'll adjust accordingly. But all plans right now point to being in Western North Carolina sometime in March.
All right, that sounds good. Well, Commissioner Cross, we appreciate your time. We appreciate everything that Southern Conference does, and we just want to thank you for coming on TGFF Game Day.
Yeah, your staff does a tremendous job.
Yep, they do.
Thanks, guys. My pleasure. Appreciate being with you.
And that was a great interview that we was able to get yesterday, me and SoCon John, with Commissioner Michael Cross. Appreciate his time and his leadership with the Southern Conference, and looking forward to doing many things. And as you heard, we actually talked about the TGFF Game Day being the official game day of the Southern Conference. We'll be talking to the Commissioner later about that. But now let's first of all, thank Redbubble. As you see, you can get your TGFF Game Day hat at Redbubble, the Furman Joust collection. Go there right now. You can save up to 30% on your order. Now we go to the man, the myth, the legend. He is the ACC guru, and he is none other than Justin. Justin, bring us in with some ACC.
So I might have to change this to the AIC, the all inconsistent conference again every week, because every week is just something different. But it was really good to see Syracuse get a huge win on Friday night against UNLV. They ended up having to go to overtime to that. Kyle McCord did his thing, threw for 355 yards and 3 touchdowns. As the Orange got the win, they are going to be taking on the NC State Wolfpack this week, which we're going to get into here shortly. The teams that are doing their thing, Jay, they're doing what they're supposed to. Miami with a huge comeback against Cal in the fourth quarter. They put up 21 points. Cal only was able to get a field goal, so Miami was able to squeak out the 1-point win on the road. And then your guys went down to Tallahassee. The Tigers went and got it done against the Noles. The Noles, again, just super struggling. They're 1-5 and 1-4 in the ACC now. Clemson takes over the top spot this week at now 3-0 in the ACC. It looks like them and Miami are on a collision course now for that. So we had a good week for those two teams. They're starting to separate themselves from the pack, but I'll tell you who else surprised me last week was the SMU Louisville game. SMU is now 2-0 in the conference as well. So they laid claim to their stake at the top this week as well. They went on the road and got it done against the Cardinals. So Louisville now has lost 2 in a row. So that was a huge upset there for the newly added SMU Mustangs to the ACC. And another surprise last week for me, Jay, was the Virginia Cavaliers getting it done at home against BC. So they are also now 2-0 in the conference. They're going to be taking their undefeated conference record again this week. They're going to have another tough game. But the other team that we were looking out for that we talked about last week was Pitt. Pitt did get it done on the road against North Carolina. So they are now got their first conference win as well. And then Wake Forest got a huge road win in Raleigh last week as they were able to overcome a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter to win that game 34-30. So a huge win for them as they got their first win against the Wolfpack last week. Virginia Tech rebounded as well. They got their first win in conference, taking down Stanford on the road. And as we talked about it last week, the Yellow Jackets stung the Blue Devils last week in Atlanta. So Duke took their first loss. And Georgia Tech now gets their second win in the season too. So another just jam-packed week last week. It's not as much on the slate this week, Jay, but it's going to be another, crazy, inconsistent week that we always talk about. So, but your guys are going to be taking on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons in Winston-Salem. So the Tigers are going to be taking the visit up Interstate 85. They're going to be seeing if they can continue to pound on the ACC as they look to take their talents on the road. I've got Clemson taking that one again this week. That was one of my feature games for this week. And then the other game that I'm looking out for this week is going to be Pittsburgh and Cal. Cal's really had some tough losses, but they are looking to try to take their stuff on the road this week to Pitt, see if they can get their first ever ACC win as well. And then the night game on the ACC network is going to be the Syracuse Orange visiting the NC State Wolfpack here in Raleigh as well. And NC State is looking to hold serve at home. They have not lost to the Syracuse Orange at home, so that's going to be another interesting game to see. Can their defense step up? Their defense has been super inconsistent, but it's just another great slate of games again this week, Jay. We look forward to seeing how these games play out and seeing what we can look forward to next week. So also, if you would like to visit our website as well, and my website. So my company is going to be NFM Lending. You can visit us for all of your mortgage needs, residential mortgage needs at www.nfmlending.com/Jay Grace. So I appreciate you as always, Jay. We always have a great slate in the ACC. So another great atmosphere that we got going on again this week. So I know you're looking forward to the Tigers.
All right, Justin, I appreciate you giving us all the good news notes about the ACC, the ups and downs and turns and sideways, and some crazy games last week. And hopefully the ACC can get on track this week. All right, well, now we go to our guy over at the Big 12. We're talking about Joe Tillery, and he brings to us the Big 12 news and notes brought to you by our friends at Pepsi Cola. Nothing's better than a nice cold Pepsi. Let's go to Joe.
Week 7 is here. We are coming into a big week in the Big 12 Conference. My name is Joe Tillery. Thank you so much for checking out the channel here as we continue to rock you through College Game Day this Saturday. The Big 12 Conference, we talked about it in Week 6. There were some games that I thought were, up in the air toss-up type games. Games that I didn't think would be all that close. Games that maybe didn't pique the viewer the same way Week 7 slate would. This week is big time. This is big time news. And we got to start off with the first thing that comes to mind here. Utah is getting Cam Rising back. What that means for the rest of the league, I'm not entirely sure yet. We don't know how Cam Rising is going to look, but if they're confident enough in sending him out there, I think there's a good chance he looks pretty good. He looks, what would you say, 80% healthy? That's probably where I'm going into this. I think he's going to get out there and lead Utah to a win. We'll talk about that a little bit later. That's going to be one of the 3 picks I discuss, but I think Utah, Arizona State's going to be a big game to follow as a whole for the entire conference, because if Utah does go out there and looks like they do, looks like Utah, plays Utah's brand of football with Cam Rising slinging the football around, it's going to be tough to dispute them not being the best team in the league going forward, even though the record right now doesn't state it. I don't think Isaac Wilson gets the job done like the same way Cam Rising does. That's not a hot take. That's not a crazy statement. I just don't see that thing coming to fruition without Cam Rising as the centerpiece. The next big game everybody's talking about, whether you're a Big 12 fan or not, Colorado versus 18th ranked Kansas State. I'm a Kansas State guy. I follow Kansas State. This is a massive game for both teams. And when you look at it across the board, think about the big names in this game. You got Travis Hunter, who's the best player in college football. No one's going to dispute that. Shedeur Sanders versus Avery Johnson is going to be an awesome matchup to see. You got DJ Giddens. You got Dylan Edwards making his return to Folsom Field as a former Colorado Buffalo last season. There's a lot of awesome storylines. And to be honest, these two teams click in a way that both teams are bad matchups for one another. Both teams' strengths are the thing that the other team struggles with. Kansas State, very fundamental, very solid in the trenches, bullies people off the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively. Colorado struggles when that stuff happens. They've been better as of late, but it is a challenge and an adjustment. K-State's secondary has not been good this season. They've been vulnerable through the air. Shedeur Sanders in Colorado might be the best passing attack in the country. I stand by they're at least top 5. They're a damn good football team. I know that there was a lot of narrative saying, well, Colorado might not be good. It might just be the hype. It might be this. There's an element of that still. I know that the Baylor win and the UCF wins are still a little bit where you look at them and say, I mean, any top half team probably beats those two teams consistently, but I do think there's an element of what's going to happen this week. As you can see in the Big 12, Arizona can beat Utah. You can see Kansas State lose to BYU. You can see anybody upset anybody on any given Saturday, and that's the beauty of this conference. So a massive game to watch there in Boulder. The third game I want to talk about, because it's going to be one where both fan bases are pissed off, they're drunk, they're hungry. Give me Iowa State and West Virginia. That's going to be a massive game. Up in Morgantown, West Virginia coming in. Despite having a little bit of a slow non-con, they look decent. Garrett Green bounced back. He had a little bit of an injury. He's back in action. It sounds like Jaheim White's back out there. They've got some guys getting healthy and getting right. West Virginia, Iowa State might be the sneakiest good game of the entire slate of college football this week. Iowa State obviously ranked as, I think, number 11 in the country right now. West Virginia still outside the top 25, but has an alley to get into that spot, especially if they beat Iowa State this week. My 3 picks will look at those 3 games. Those are the best 3 games of the slate, in my opinion. Give me Kansas State minus 3.5 versus Colorado. This game originally, when the season kicked off, was a 9.5-point swing. The game was listed in favor of K-State 9.5. Do I think Kansas State is only 3.5 points better than Colorado? I do not. I think they're a touchdown better. I think they're more than a touchdown better, but it all comes down to Avery Johnson. If he's ready for the moment, if that was a turning page against Oklahoma State, 3.5 points should not be a problem for Kansas State, even though it's a hostile environment on the road. Utah. This game reminds me of one of those opt-out situations where the line starts here, guys say they're going to opt out, and then they actually decide to play, and it's too late to stay in the line. Give me Utah minus 5.5. It is too late to flip this thing. Utah with Cam Rising is 9 points better than Arizona State. They might be 8.5 points better than Arizona State. 5.5 is too little. It's too late to swing that far. Give me Utah with Cam Rising back in action. And the third game I will talk about, I know it might not seem the most logical, but something about this game between Iowa State and West Virginia is telling me West Virginia wins this football game. Neil Brown, I know they've been inconsistent at times. I know that Iowa State's defense is incredible, and they've done enough offensively to get going. These two teams are very, very similar teams. It's like looking in the mirror to an extent. Obviously, they had the same identity, I would say, but there's differences in skill position. There's difference in players. I will take West Virginia to cover 3.5 points. They might not even have to win this game. Iowa State can win this game by a field goal, and I'll still feel good about covering with West Virginia. But that's going to do it for this week. We'll have more next week to discuss in the always exciting, always unpredictable Big 12 Conference.
Thank you so much, Joe. We welcome you guys back to the show. Joe is always a huge source of information for us there for the Big 12. We appreciate your insight as well. Thanks again to Pepsi as well. But next up, Jay, we're going to head to the Big 10, and we're going to get our guys over at Run the Damn Ball. They are going to be sponsored this week by True Victory. So get your True Victory gear. Use code FurmanJoust to get your 15% off. So thanks so much. Run the Damn Ball. Give us the updates on the Big 10 from the week that was and the week that will be.
All right, y'all. This is Run the Damn Ball. This is your host, Daniel Magnuson. We talk college football, Nebraska football. I'm also the Big 10 correspondent for Greenville Sports Media. So we're going to talk about all the college football games this weekend. I'll talk about the Big 10 games, of course. I am a Nebraska fan as well. So I know Nebraska, all around. I keep up with most of the Big 10 teams because I have to, unfortunately. But yeah, so we're going to talk about all these games. How I think certain teams are doing on the season overall. I know I missed last week. I was busy with some stuff, had a bachelor party to go to. Happy to be back. So go ahead and talk about the games coming up this weekend. And it starts tonight, Friday night. We have Northwestern at Maryland. Northwestern, an average football team right now, and Maryland's kind of the same. I do think Maryland has a little bit more spice on offense, if you know what I'm saying. Roman Hemby has had some good seasons at running back there. I like Ty Felton as well. I think they got a little bit more going, at least more than Northwestern has. Plus, Cam Porter is the best running back for Northwestern. I don't think he's going to be 100%. They might get him to play. He played last game, but he's just not what he is at 100%. I think that's a big difference in this game. That's what Northwestern relies on, is their run game. So give me Maryland by a score, maybe 7 points, something like that, 6 or 7 points. They're also the home team. Next up, Utah at Arizona State. Okay, so last year, 2023, I thought, Utah coming off back-to-back Rose Bowl appearances, and this was going into the season. I also thought Cam Rising was going to play last year for them. They actually were my Pac-12 pick to win that conference and also represent the Pac-12 in the playoff, which was just wrong because Cam Rising never played. Jaquindon Jackson kind of carried that offense as well, and then he transferred, and he was their best running back. And their defense was good, but their offense was abysmal. And honestly, to like look at I'll pull up their schedule right now. Looking at what they are right now, they're not a ton different than they were last year. I think they were 8-4 last year, something like that. Maybe I'm a little bit off. I know they had a bowl game where they lost to Northwestern, which is a red flag. But this year right now, so their last game they had was September 28th. They lost 23-10 to Arizona, who's an above average football team. And they beat Oklahoma State by 3. They beat Baylor by 11. The other 2 games they had were against lesser opponents. And they've only played 5 games, so that's kind of a smaller sample size. But still, it's like I'm just not impressed with Utah. Cam Rising, I don't even know if he's coming back because he hurt his hand or something against Baylor. And it's just like Money Parks is a good receiver. Brent Keithy's a good tight end. Micah Bernard is a pretty good running back, but like besides that, they're just kind of like there's not a lot of reliable options on their offense. I guess they have Caleb Lohner, the former BYU basketball player, as a tight end, but Arizona State's clicking right now. Okay, you look at what Arizona State's been doing. They blew out Wyoming, which I actually thought Wyoming was going to upset them. I was dead wrong week 1. Beat Mississippi State, barely beat Texas State, lost to Texas Tech, and then they beat Kansas in a shootout game. But I think Scattaboo and these skill players for Arizona State, I think Sam Levitt's a gamer. I think they're just a little bit better than what Utah's going to put together. And it's a home game for Arizona State. I don't even know if the right QB is going to play for Utah tonight. I know they got Ian Wilson. They probably would like to have Cam Rising, but I think it's or Aiden Wilson. I can't remember his name. Their other QB. But yeah, I really think this is an exact spot. A Friday night game is just exactly. If this was like a 2:30 game, I might think Utah would maybe show up better. But I think something about it being a Friday night in Arizona with their just athletic transfer portal offense at Arizona State. Give me Arizona State in a close win over Utah. I know I went in depth there. I just haven't talked on here in a while. And I think Arizona State's kind of fascinating, putting together like basically a transfer portal team over the offseason. Utah probably is a more established thing, but I don't really believe in them right now. Last year they failed my predictions, and I just don't believe in them anymore. Next up, South Carolina at Alabama tomorrow. Give me Alabama because they just are coming off an embarrassing loss to Vanderbilt. That was the biggest upset we have seen in a really long time in college football. So that's really fun. I'm glad that the talent of players is moving around in college football more. It used to be more isolated because of the SEC powers of Alabama, Georgia, et cetera, and the 14 playoff, which is now dying, which is amazing. Like the 14 playoff era is dead, which is awesome. Okay, I think we're going back to the parody of the BCS era with the new playoff is what I'm thinking. So, but Bama's going to get it together and win this game at home because they have to. Otherwise, I don't know. Clemson at Wake Forest. Give me Clemson. I know there's some people that I'm in a group chat with some. It's funny. I'm like the only non-Southeastern American in this group chat of ACC and SEC fans and like FCS, like Furman fans and stuff. And I'm the only maybe I'm not, but I'm one of the only people that's not from that region. And I came after Clemson over the summer and told people that like 9 wins was a good season for them, which I still kind of stand by. Their schedule is really easy. The ACC is kind of just the ACC and the Big 12 are just wide open. There's no great team in there. Maybe, yeah. So there's no great team in those leagues. But Wake Forest is a bottom feeder in the ACC. I know they won their game last week, I think against NC State, but Clemson's clicking. Okay. They are clicking. Their young players are playing well. Give them credit. They're going to win this game. Still don't think Clemson. I mean, if Clemson wins the ACC and goes on to the playoff, they're probably going to get wrecked. I'm just going to say that right now. But also, low key, SMU's coming. Just saying. Miami's, as we saw last weekend, Miami is exposable, and SMU is on their way to the ACC. I'm not going to say it, but they're coming. They're coming. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Washington and Iowa as well tomorrow. Give me Washington because I like what I saw from them last week against Michigan, and Iowa is, besides Caleb Johnson, their offense is a joke. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm gonna give credit to their farm boys on the O-line that are doing work, but that's it. It's literally 6 individuals on their team, on their offense are good. The rest, no. And their defense is, their defense is Iowa. But give me Washington 14-10. Low scoring game. Wisconsin at Rutgers. After what we saw last weekend with Rutgers, their offense is not that great. And that's what I always thought. All you got to do is shut down their run and force them to pass, and they can't do it. I saw it over the offseason. I should have done a Big Ten preview because I would have said that. I just was too lazy and didn't do one. But Rutgers is Kyle Monangai, whatever other running backs they throw out there, and that's it. I guess they have some young receivers that are pretty good, but I don't think they have. They put up 7 against Nebraska, and Nebraska's defense is really good, but their wide receiver dropped a wide open touchdown pass when our corner fell over. Like, y'all are not good if you're doing that. So give me Wisconsin by 7 on the road. Yeah. Georgia Tech at North Carolina. This is just a game. I know this is where I just don't watch the ACC unless it's certain teams because it's just the Big 12 East is what it is to me. I don't live in that region of the country. I live in Texas. North Carolina, they gave up 70 to James Madison earlier this year, and that just marred my entire view of their program. I think Mac Brown needs to retire. Mac Brown, he's too old. He is like the Joe Biden of college. No, I'm not going to say that. That's probably like Lee Corso. But you got to hang it up, dude. James Madison's dropping 70 on you. You were coaching North Carolina in the 90s. I was born in 1999. He's got to go. Give me Georgia Tech. Close game. I know that the road team, North Carolina, has way better colors too. But Georgia Tech, because I think Haynes King, as East Texans would pronounce his name, Longview quarterback, Haynes King. Yeah. Give me Georgia Tech because of their offense. Texas at Oklahoma, Texas versus Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. Also, the Cotton Bowl should be getting renovated sometime this decade. The Cotton Bowl game needs to be moved back to the Cotton Bowl Stadium in the downtown Dallas area. I know it's not downtown Dallas, but it's pretty damn close because that's where it belongs. That's the Cotton Bowl. Texas is going to win. I'm just going to go ahead and go in deep in what I think is going to happen in this game. Quinn Ewers has been out for a couple weeks. I think Oklahoma's defense is the good part of their team. They're going to cause some problems for Quinn, I think. But Texas's offense is too stacked. They're going to find a way to win because of that. Oklahoma and Michael Hawkins, their quarterback, are going to make it fun at times, but give me Texas by 10. They should win by like 17 or more, but I think for some reason they're going to find a way to just make it close. Both teams, yeah. Penn State at USC. Look, I'm getting opinionated today. I have a lot of opinions. Penn State, I'm not talking about last year Penn State. I'm not talking about Penn State. Actually, last year's, they were the same thing, actually. Penn State this year is one of the worst top 10 football teams I've ever seen. Their quarterback is above average. Drew Aller has a baby face, not that good. Nicholas Singleton's the best part of their offense. Other than that, they just have a big O-line. Their wide receivers are not that impressive. Their tight ends are all right. They're just not that. Their defense is like the best part of their team. They're just not fun. It's just boring. And USC, I really want them to beat Penn State because Penn State should not be ranked 4. Like, they're not the 4th best team in the country. There's no way. I know there's not a lot of great teams this year. Ohio State and Texas might be the only 2 great teams this year. I know Georgia's going to try to, fight their way in. Maybe they are, but Carson Beck's kind of unlikable. Yeah, no. Give me USC just because I want USC to win. And I think their offense is primed to pop off at some point. And Penn State's offense is going to get exposed for being one-dimensional. Yeah, so I could be wrong, but I really just want to see Penn State lose. I'm sick of them. They're just not going to win anything that matters because they never do. And if they win a big-time bowl game, it's against Memphis. So congrats. Stanford at Notre Dame. Yeah, give me Notre Dame just because of their defense. Their offense is pretty average, but I think they're going to win that game. If this is on the road, I might low-key pick. No, I can't do that. Notre Dame's defense is probably too good to lose to Stanford. I know they lost to Northern Illinois earlier, but yeah. California at Pittsburgh. I think Cal is going to have a little bit of a hangover after last week. I think they're still mentally going to be trying to recover from blowing a 25-point lead to Miami. And I think Pitt actually is a pretty solid team this year. And I don't believe California has the consistency on offense because last week on offense, they're pretty bad in the second half. So give me Pitt, actually. And they're going to be 6-0 after this game if that happens, which some of these ACC teams, especially with having I think they still have 8-game conference schedule. I know the SEC is moving to 9 in 2026. I think the ACC might be 2, but I can't remember. Start playing 9 conference games, please. Like you have easy schedules, and there's no one who's great in your conference, so you're just playing whoever. And SMU is a part of that, so that's why I think they can make a run. But anyway, they're not playing this weekend. Neither is my team, Nebraska. So I'm kind of chilling. Purdue at Illinois. I need to post these pick'em videos to my Run the Damn Ball YouTube. I'll probably start doing that. I'll probably start doing that now. Hopefully I have more time. So anyway, and plus we're in the heart of the season. Purdue at Illinois. Give me Illinois. Purdue is awful, and they're the worst team in the Big Ten. They might be the worst team in like the Mountain West Conference if they were put in there. They're awful. Illinois is going to blow them out. And Ryan Walters will not be their coach next year, probably. I know I'm sounding negative, but I'm just saying it how it is. Louisville at Virginia. Give me Louisville. I think they're going to bounce back after losing to SMU last week. And I think Virginia's QB Calandria is a liability. Cincinnati at UCF. Give me Cincinnati because I think UCF is crumbling right now, it seems. It was some of these transfers. I don't know what's going on there, but something's off. And I like Corey Kiner, Xavier Henderson, and Sorsby, their QB as well at Cincinnati. I think they got a solid team. Yeah, so I think they're going to find a way to win a shootout there. Arizona at BYU. Finally, I do think that BYU is going to get exposed. Finally, I don't think they have the consistency on offense here. I think Arizona is going to find a way to win this game because of McMillan and Fafita. They're going to do enough. It's going to be really close, like a low-scoring battle. 21-19. BYU fails a 2-point conversion here. Arizona wins. That's my prediction there. Mississippi State at Georgia. Oh, gosh. Don't even give me – no, Georgia by like 30 probably. Florida, Tennessee. Give me Tennessee barely. I think that Tennessee got a little bit exposed last weekend against Florida, but I do think Florida and Graham Mertz are bad enough to find a way to lose. So give me Tennessee. Washington State at Fresno State. I like Washington State's offense. I do think Fresno State is mid at best. Washington State will win. Ohio State at Oregon. I think Dylan Gray. I almost called him Graybeal. Dylan Gabriel is primed to get exposed I think Ohio State's going to expose him and Oregon. Ohio State 31-17. They got a better offense. They got better defense. That's what I see. Ole Miss at LSU. Yeah, give me Ole Miss because of their offense and Jackson Dart probably. I think Ole Miss lost a game they weren't supposed to against Kentucky. I think LSU very well could win this one, but because of certain things playing out, I just find Ole Miss is going to find a way to win. I know it's on the road, but they're going to find a way. I got an upset pick here. Oregon State at Nevada. I think Oregon State is they have an easy schedule. They're not that good. I think Nevada, they almost beat SMU week 0. I think Nevada gets that sneaky upset win that they can pull off potentially here. You never know what's going to happen up in those mountain regions with football. It's just unpredictable. Give me Nevada. Vanderbilt at Kentucky. Diego Pavia. It's not stopping. We are going to see This is a sideshow with college football. Vanderbilt's gonna have some fun this year. I think Kentucky's offense is not that great. If you look at them statistically, not that great. Vanderbilt's gonna find a way to win this game. I say by two scores, something like that. Yeah, give me Vandy. In this game, Diego Pavia is gonna have a fun game, and they're gonna win. Iowa State at West Virginia. Look, I'm waiting on West Virginia. Like, in terms of being a college football fan, there's certain schools I just root for because culturally and geographically, they're so unique. Wyoming, West Virginia. Who else? Shoot, I mean, honestly, Oregon, but they're kind of a big brand, so I can't really jump on that. Other places are like LSU is unique. I like to root for them too sometimes. West Virginia. I mean, there's no place like it. And I want them to beat this Iowa State team that I don't think is that great. I mean, they barely beat Iowa, who's average, above average at best. I know that's a rivalry game, but it's like Iowa State. I know they have a good offense. I know they have one of the better teams in the Big 12. There's no doubt about it. I just want them to lose because I don't think they're that great. Give me West Virginia, overtime, 2-point conversion win, 39-38. West Virginia is going to find a way, and it's going to be magical. Wow. Syracuse at NC State. I hate that I'm even picking this game because some of these ACC games are just not that appealing. I was saying before NC State was ranked to start out the year, and I'm like, yo, what have they done besides go like 8-4, 9-3? And also, besides Concepcion and Grayson McCall, who's now we see is overrated, their offense is really – they have Jordan Waters, too. He's pretty good. Their offense is mid at best, and they're just not that impressive. They're out here losing to Wake Forest. Get out of here. Syracuse is going to win. They beat UNLV last week, too. Give me Syracuse in that one. Minnesota at UCLA. I think UCLA is going to play up to their competition here. But I do think Darius Taylor and Minnesota found something last week when they beat they should have beat Michigan, honestly. When they beat USC. So yeah, give me Minnesota again there over a California school. Oh boy. Kansas State at Colorado. I know I've been rambling and I'm not done. I'm not done. If you're watching this in video form, you see I got a picture of Ramir Johnson scoring a touchdown against Colorado on that crazy tipped catch. And that was the low point of Colorado season right there. And that's probably the lowest point they're going to reach this year. Isn't that a great photo? Look at that. That's probably the lowest point they're going to reach this season. I'm going to pull up their schedule. Maybe not on this screen, but I'm going to pull it up on my screen here that I'm looking at. And I'm just going to talk about Colorado because I know, especially if you're a Nebraska fan and you're listening and you live in the state of Nebraska too, probably, you absolutely hate Colorado. And, if this wasn't Deion Sanders coaching Colorado, and if they didn't have people like Travis Hunter, I think Travis Hunter is extremely likable, by the way. His game day vlogs of him, his game day vlogs of him playing in games and like all the highlights from the sidelines are amazing. They're awesome. Like the great college football content that we get these days is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. A lot of small town people, simple people cannot stand Colorado because they're extra. They're like a reality TV football team. They're like an AAU basketball team on grass. All of these things are true. But damn it, for a Big 12 team, they're good. For a Big 12 team. If they were in the Big 10 or if they had a rough SEC schedule, not like a Missouri SEC schedule, because that's not very tough. I'm glad A&M beat them last weekend, by the way. If Colorado had a hard schedule, they would get exposed quite a bit. But they're in the Big 12, which is above average at best. And they might just find a way to run the table. I'm going to get to this Kansas State and Colorado game first, and then we're going to talk about the rest of their games. I did a Big 12 preview video just for Colorado because they are a fascinating team with what they're trying to do. And they're in the mountain football region of the country, which is my favorite region of college football outside of Nebraska. That's my team, of course. Colorado hosting Kansas State Saturday night. The game starts at like 9:15 Mountain Time, I believe. Hold on, let me check that. Kansas State at Colorado. Oh, it's on my screen already. It literally starts 10:15 Eastern, so it starts 8:15 Mountain Time, meaning the game is going to wrap up at like midnight, but it's going to wrap up at like 12:30, 1 p.m. Kansas State body clock time, which I know I went in depth there, but Kansas State's not ready for this. They're not. I think they're a damn good team at home when they can just run the ball, play defense, all this other stuff. They're walking into a hostile Colorado crowd that has not seen their team play at home since the Hail Mary against Baylor. And they're only going up. In the Big 12, the sky is the limit for Colorado right now because of their talent and because they're clicking right now. Look, all Colorado has to do is stop the run. That's all they got to do. We saw BYU do it against Kansas State, and BYU exposed Kansas State's offense because if they can't run it, they can't do anything. They don't have any special wide receivers. I'm trying to think about their roster right now. Their tight ends are all right. Their wide receivers are small and twitchy, but they're not like twitchy like Travis or Jimmy Horn. They're not that special. And they're going to get exposed by Colorado this weekend. I think their run defense is probably their best part of their defense. I believe we saw that against Nebraska because there were times where they would shut down Nebraska's run game on maybe first, second down, especially in that second half. But then Dylan would do like a jet sweep, pop pass, or they would chuck it deep and they'd find a way down the field. Nebraska should have dropped like 42 on Colorado, but there were a lot of phantom penalties that probably shouldn't have been called. Kansas State's offense doesn't have the receivers that Nebraska does, and the running game's better, but at the same time, I don't think it's a ton better. They got a QB that can run, but I think Colorado's defense is going to find a way to do enough to give their offense time to pick apart Kansas State, and they're going to get enough stops, and Kansas State's defense is not going to be able to handle the chaos that Colorado offense is going to cause. Give me Colorado in this game. Close game, one-score game, but gave me Colorado in a win over Kansas State this weekend. I know it took like 5 minutes to explain. Then after that, at Arizona, winnable versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a lot better than I thought they were going to be this year. They should win that game. It's a home game for Colorado, but I think Cincinnati could give them a scare, potentially win. But we'll have to see what Cincinnati looks like. At Texas Tech, sneaky hard game because I think Lubbock's going to be going insane with Colorado coming to town, but I think Colorado can win that. Utah, I think, is going to get exposed this year for not having a great offense, especially without Cam Rising potentially for a while. I don't know when he's coming back. Who knows? At Kansas is bad this year. They can't win a close game to save their life. And versus Oklahoma State is their last game of the season. And I think Oklahoma State, unless they turn things around soon, could be in for a rough season as well. They can lose a few of these, but they can win every single one. There's not a game they can't win. Now, they could lose any of these games too, so who knows? But they could make it to the Big 12 title. They've only lost one game, and that was a non-conference game. So anyway, I know I just rambled there. I think Kansas State's a good team for the Big 12, but that's where I'll stop it there for now. I know I just rambled. So Boise State at Hawaii. Ashton Jeanty is the best player in college football who plays one position. Travis Hunter is the best player in college football. No one's as athletic as he is. He is a husky. Huskies are a dog breed that actually produce their own energy. They can run forever because of a chemical that they can produce in their body that allows them to have eternal stamina. A lot of people don't know that. Huskies can run forever. Travis Hunter is a husky. He's the best player in college football. Kind of fun. But Ashton Jeanty, the Boise State running back, is the best running back. He's the best person who plays one position in college football. They go at Hawaii this weekend. It will be fun to see. That's the last time those two schools might be playing for a while, at least in Hawaii, because of the conference changes that are coming in 2026. But hey, Boise State's going to win that game. You should tune in. It's a late night game on Saturday. Tune in to watch Ashton Jeanty because it's amazing. He's the best running back I've seen in a while, in a long time. So maybe I don't even know. He might be the best running back since Barry Sanders. Just looking at him physically, he's awesome. Okay. Those are the picks. I know I've been talking for a while. Shoot, I'll throw this on Run the Damn Ball, my actual YouTube, because I actually popped off. I've had some pick videos over the weeks where I try to make it quick and do it in 10 minutes. Hey, this has been fun. I'm glad I'm back. Run the Damn Ball. Looking forward to Nebraska's, second half of the season as well. Maybe I'll make some Nebraska content. There's just so much Nebraska content that is made overall, so I feel like it's kind of oversaturated sometimes. And I'm like, I don't really need to contribute all the time, but I had coffee right before this video, so that's why my brain is like is on NASCAR mode. But anyway, yeah. Run the damn ball. We out. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back into the show. Once again, we'd like to thank our guys over at True Victory. Also, we would like to thank our guys over at Cowboy Revolution as well.
Hello, everybody. It's Adam with the Sideline Sports Network New Mexico on X account, previewing this week's Mountain West football action. However, before we get to this week's action, let's kind of take a look back at what happened last week. The big news out of the conference was there was more movement from the conference, this time taking on teams, as UTEP has agreed to join the Mountain West Conference beginning in July of 2026. So all that doom and gloom that we talked about for the last couple weeks, maybe we could put it to rest as the conference now starts to poach other teams. Let's get to the games now. I mean, last week UNLV made a liar out of me. Not that I mind, but they weren't bothered by Matthew Sluka's departure, and they pounded Fresno State 59-14. That moved them to 4-0 on the season. They're now into the top 25 at number 23, and they've got a big game this week. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Hey, how about Boise State? Ashton Genty, 259 yards, 4 touchdowns, and they blew away Washington State last Saturday night, 45-24. Broncos are now up to 3-1 on the season. They're up to 21st in the AP poll. They've also got a huge in-conference game this weekend against Utah State. We'll talk about that as well in a little bit. Hey, my New Mexico Lobos finally got off the schneid with their first win of the season. Nequari Rogers ran for 122 yards and 2 scores as the Lobos beat New Mexico State last week 50-40 in the Rio Grande rivalry. This is our state. It's the first win of the Bronco Mendenhall era. That was big. Elsewhere, Wyoming topped Air Force to get to 1-0 in conference. That was a 31-19 win for the Wyoming Cowboys. San Diego State went down in a last-minute field goal to Central Michigan as they lost 22-21 on the road. The Aztecs are now 1-3 on the season. All right, that was last week. Let's focus on this week. Our first big game of the week is San Jose State taking on Nevada. That game is at 4:30 Pacific time, 7:30 Eastern time on Saturday night. That game will be broadcasted on True TV. Now, the Spartans come into this game 1-0 in the conference, and they can get a big leg up early, as everyone else is still playing some out-of-conference games, and many are still yet to play or are just playing their first conference game this week. And the Spartans, hey, man, they can go to 2-0 on the year. They love to throw the football. They're averaging 328 yards a game with starter Emmett Brown. That's the one thing Nevada's defense, however, does shut down. They've been allowing just 224 yards passing a game and just 185 yards a game these last two. However, I like the Spartans in this one. Nevada did allow 308 yards passing in week 0 against SMU. Spartans' passing attack is along the lines of SMU. I like the Spartans in this one. Nevada will keep it close. San Jose State, I like them winning 31-24. Up next, Hawaii. They leave the island. They go to take on San Diego State Saturday night. That game is at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. It'll be on CBS Sports Network. This is the conference opener for both teams. The Aztecs, as we talked earlier, lost to Central Michigan 22-21. They're on a 3-game losing streak. Their defense has struggled. They're allowing 381 yards per game, but they've allowed just 22 points a game. Hawaii's first trip outside of the islands, that was horrible. 31-13 loss at Sam Houston State a couple weeks ago. It's going to be tough to tell how this goes with San Diego State struggling. Hawaii not really very good on the road. Expect this one to be really, really close, kind of medium scoring for a Mountain West game. I like the Rainbow Warriors to eke this one out, 27-24. Hey, let's talk about Boise State. They will play host to Utah State. It's a game that's not expected to be close. This game is at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Mountain on Saturday night. It'll be on Fox Sports 2. The Utags are 1-3, and they struggle. They've played 2 road games this year. They've given up 215 yards rushing both of those road games this year. That's Ashton Genty's bread and butter. I mean, he's licking his chops to get a hold of this Utags defense. I like Boise State big in this one, 48-14. I expect Genty to go off. Expect him to have over another 200 yards in this one alone. Yep, elsewhere, we talked about UNLV. They have a huge game Friday night against Syracuse. That game is on FS1. That'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Colorado State will visit Oregon State at 4:30 Mountain Time, 6:30 Eastern Time, Saturday night. That game will be on the CW, and you guys are previewing the Navy Air Force game, as that game will be on Saturday at noon Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. That one's on CBS. All right, that'll do it for this week in the Mountain West Conference. Don't forget to give me a follow on X at SSN New Mexico. Have a great week of football, everybody, and enjoy it.
It's going to be time for us to do our Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming Underdog Pick of the Week. For this week, we decided to head down to the Texas State Fair, Jay, and we're going to go talk about Texas and Oklahoma. So let's see who our underdog gets to pick up this week.
This week's Ralphie Underdog Pick of the Week is Oklahoma over Texas. You heard me. Give me Oklahoma over Texas and the Underdog Pick of the Week. Yo, boy, Ralphie.
All right, there you heard it, folks. Ralphie, the underdog, has picked Oklahoma over Texas in the Underdog Pick of the Week. I think Underdog is like 1 of 5 so far this season, so I would not put money on his picks. So anyway, we now are going to our guest picker of the week. Donnie Richards from Arden's Burger and Grill was nice enough to step in for our previous guest picker that had an emergency and will be with us in 2 weeks, Mark Rapetta. So we want to thank Donnie and everybody at Point RV. That's right, Point RV at Lake Hartwell. We want to thank each and every one of them. If you're looking for a great place to stay with your trailer or want to rent a cabin, a great place to go, rustic campground. And they have been great to us over here at TGFF Game Day and also Greenville Sports Media. So anyway, let's go to Donnie and his picks for this week. And it's a huge week, folks.
Hello, everybody. This is Jay with TGFF Game Day. This week's guest picker is none other than the man behind the greatest cook there is. That's right. We're talking about behind every great cook is a great man. That's right. Donnie Richards. He's here with me. We're going to be doing the guest picker for this week's TGFF Game Day. And Donnie, first of all, tell us a little bit about Arden's Burger Grill, what they can get here.
You can get just about anything and everything that you could possibly want. We've got homemade burgers. I mean, it's the real deal burgers and real deal fries. Nothing frozen here. You can get hibachi. You can get chicken wings. You can get hot dogs. You can get fried PB&Js, and our appetizers are from scratch. Homemade egg rolls, dumplings, spicy fried pickles, mozzarella cheese sticks, macaroni cheese bites. You can get breakfast. Just like I say, anything and everything that you possibly want, we've got it.
And I'm telling you, it's good. Everybody we've sent up here has enjoyed the meal, comes back. Make sure you get to Arden's Burger Grill in Central South Carolina. And also, coming soon, Beef and Rib in Westminster. All right, Donnie, let's start it off. Utah versus Arizona State. Who you got in this game?
Well, Utah is a little bit down this year, just a little bit. I think they've lost 1 game this year. And Arizona State, they got a good coach right now. They're on the upswing, but I think Utah's got a better coach right now. I think was it not Willingham. What's his last name?
I can't remember on
But
the top of my head.
He's been there for like 17, 18 years. Kyle Willingham, I think's his name. But I think he's going to keep them in it, and I think they're going to win it. But they won't win it by much. It'll probably be 2 or 3 points.
I'm taking Arizona State this game. All right, Clemson at Wake Forest.
Clemson at Wake Forest. Wake Forest, they kind of down this year a little bit, but you still playing at Wake Forest, and it's still BB&T Field. But Clemson is on the upswing. I think they got things going in the right direction. The receivers, they got the receivers this year that they haven't had in the past couple of years, and I think Clemson will win probably by 10 points.
I agree, Clemson over Wake. South Carolina at Alabama.
I would hate to be South Carolina right now.
Yeah, I agree.
With Alabama coming off a loss. But I got Bama in this one.
I agree with you. I'll take Alabama. And then the Red River rivalry, Texas at Oklahoma.
They can go either way, but Sarkisian, he's got the Longhorns playing. They playing some of the best ball of anybody this year, so I got Texas.
Give me Oklahoma in the upset. All right, Penn State at USC. A lot of great games this week.
Penn State at USC. I can go either way, but USC is trying to get to that hardcore defense that they ain't had in
Forever.
30 years or 40 years. It's different, and I still think Penn State pull it out.
Give me USC in the upset. Florida at Tennessee.
There's another one. I would hate to be Florida right now. Even though they did good last week,
Yep.
you know, and their coach has kind of been on the hot seat. But I take Tennessee.
I agree with you on that, Tennessee. Air Force versus New Mexico.
Well, Air Force is down this year. New Mexico is kind of on the upswing. I pick New Mexico at home.
I agree. New Mexico in an upset. That's right, because their Air Force is actually given by 5 points,
Yep.
I think it is. UT Chattanooga at Furman, the game I'll be at.
UT Chattanooga, they always play Furman, 7-3, 7 points. I mean, it's real close all the time, but and I ain't saying nothing bad about their quarterback, but he ain't through but for like 1,300 yards this year. So I go Furman.
Give me Furman in it also. Ole Miss at LSU.
Ole Miss at LSU. LSU's got good because it's at home, but I still think Ole Miss is going to win.
I agree with you. LSU's defense is the last in the league. Very suspect, and Lane Kiffin's going to have a field day. Syracuse versus NC State.
Syracuse is on kind of the upswing this year. North Carolina State is down, but North Carolina State's at home, and that's a kind of an advantage for them. It's been that way for years. It don't matter who they play. So, but I still think Syracuse is going to win.
I agree with you. Syracuse will beat NC State. Dave Dorn is on the hot seat after losing to Wake Forest, who lost to an FCS team the week before. All right, Kansas State at Colorado.
Colorado's got back Shedeur Sanders. He had surgery on his arm. They still got Hunter. I think most people's picking him as the Heisman front runner right now.
Yep.
But they played a lot of close games. But I think K-State, because it means more to them for the Big 12 title. Because if they lose this, it's almost over with. So I think K-State's going to win.
I agree with you. K-State win over Colorado by about 10 points, my prediction. Stanford versus Notre Dame.
Stanford does have a good ball club. People may not believe that. They got a good ball club, but they are playing at Notre Dame. So that's why I'm giving Notre Dame the edge.
Give me Stanford over Notre Dame in an upset.
Nothing against Donnie. I'm picking a lot of upsets this week. And finally, our game of the week: Ohio State at Oregon.
Ohio State has been proven to have offense and defense. I hadn't really seen that out of Oregon, the defensive part. They're getting better, but this is the Big Ten, and they rely on defense more than they do offense. But Oregon is playing at home, and game day's going to be there this week, but I think Ohio State's going to win.
Ooh, give me Oregon over Ohio State because they're at home. If it was at the Horseshoe, I'd probably have a different answer, but they are at Oregon. All right, well, first of all, we just want to make sure everybody knows to come down to Arden's Burger Grill, Central South Carolina. If you come in for a Clemson game, any of the local sports, come by here and see them. Students flock here every single day. Today is Wing Wednesday meal deal, $10.99 plus tax gets you wings, fries, and a drink. You can't beat that.
That's $10.99 tax and all.
$10.99 tax. Oh, guess what? You're saving tax too, and that's with the drink, and that's 12. Excuse me, am I correct?
10
wings. 10 wings. Make sure
a side of fries, fresh cut fries.
And we're talking a lot of fries, not just a couple. We're talking about like a large size order of fries. Also, you can get breakfast. I love the s'mores French toast. You cannot beat that. Angie just knows how to cook stuff. Yes, and they have meat and 3 on Sundays. They're open from 11 to 2:30, or until they sell out, we should say. So make sure you come by Orangeburg Grill in Central South Carolina. You will not be disappointed. Make sure you just bring an empty stomach, because I'm telling you right now, your tongue's going to slap your teeth out. You'll be getting a dentist appointment the next day. So your dentist will be happy to see you each and every week, because you'll be eating here each and every week. So check out Orangeburg Grill, Central South Carolina. Also, Beef and Rib coming to Westminster, South Carolina. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Donnie, again, for giving us all your great insight into the picks of the week. Jay, it is our time to do our picks, too. We want to still thank the Point RV at Lake Hartwell for sponsoring that part of our show. But, Jay, it's that time for us to be able to start talking about our picks of the week as well. As you guys can tell, we've got those for you guys down here on the bottom as well. But we're going to start here this week. We're going to go with Utah and Arizona State. So who do you got this week, Jay? Are you going to take the Utes, or are you taking the Sun Devils?
Give me the Sun Devils.
He's taking the Prong Sun Devils. Give me Utah this week. I'm going to go the opposite, because I need to make up some from all the terrible picks I've had over the last week. So give me Utah this week. We're going to be able to see how does Utah respond this week. They got a good team going, but we're going to see if they can continue to keep pushing forward as well. And then next up, we're going to go to the ACC, Jay. We got your guys with the Tigers and the Demon Deacons. So Wake got a really big win last week in Raleigh. Are they going to be able to get it done in Winston-Salem, or do the Tigers continue to roll?
Clemson.
I got the Tigers as well this week. Wake Forest defense is just not good. They were 127th in the country, one of the worst against the run as well in the country. So give me Phil Maffa to go for a 150 this week. I'm excited to see how the Tigers are going to keep rolling as well. But next up, we're going to head to the SEC, and then it's, again, your country. Jay, we got Bama and South Carolina. I know you're going to head up and take the Gamecocks this week again, right?
Never will I take the Gamecocks again. Bama rolls over the Chickens.
Give me Roll Tide as well this week. They are at home. Tough loss last week for them against Vandy on the road, but I could kind of see that coming. We all saw that was a big trap game right after their huge win against Georgia, but give me Bama to rebound this week as well. So next up, we're going to do Air Force in New Mexico. You're going to take the Lobos, or are you going with the Air Force Academy this week?
Well, last week I picked against Air Force, and it's not going to change this week. Give me New Mexico over Air Force in this game.
You know I'm a Wolf guy, Jay, so give me the Lobos. I'm definitely going with them this week. So give me the Lobos. I think they're going to win at home as well. And then we're going to get down to your country, Jay. This is your neck of the woods, Furman and Tennessee, Chattanooga. I know you're going to be there this week as well. So who are you going to be picking for this week for that game?
Well, Furman's young. Chattanooga's injured. Give me Furman.
Give me FU all the way as well. So I'm definitely taking Furman again this week. At some point, they're going to continue to grow up and get better on offense too. So I'm liking their weapons. I'm liking their quarterback. So give me Furman as well this week. And then, Jay, I know this is going to be your favorite one as well. We're heading to the Big 12. K-State, Colorado. Are you going to take Prime or are you taking the Wildcats this week?
Give me the Wildcats in a 14-point eruption.
I'm liking that as well. I think Kansas State's too physical. I think they're really good up front. Really like what they're doing. They're starting to get better each and every week. I really do like them. I don't know that Colorado's ready for the prime time yet. So give me Kansas State again this week as well. So, and then we're going to get a little bit more into this game next up, but we're going to be talking Stanford and Notre Dame, another rivalry game this week, Jay. This one's going to be in South Bend. So are you going to be taking the Fighting Trees or are you going to be doing the Fighting Irish?
Give me the Fighting Trees over the Irish in an upset.
That's a big one, Jay. You're going stepping out on a limb there, not trying to get the pun intended on that one. But yeah, give me the Irish this week at home. I think they're getting better each and every week. They showed a little bit more last week than what they did. A couple weeks they were off, so they're coming off a bye. But their previous game, they really started to look really better. So give me them a little bit this week. Give me Riley Leonard to get 2 touchdowns. And I think they win, but I don't know if they cover. I think the spread's about 23 this week, but I think Notre Dame's going to get about a 31-14 win this week for the Irish. So give me them this week as well. And then we got another big one down in the SEC as well, Jay. This one's a really good one. Ole Miss and LSU. So this one's going to be in Baton Rouge. Who are you going to take, the Tigers, or are you going with Ole Miss?
LSU's defense is ranked dead last in the SEC. Ole Miss's offense is ranked in the top 5. I'm sorry, but LSU, I might have been a fan at one time. Not this time. Give me Ole Miss.
Give me the Lane Kiffin Payne train is what I call it. So I love their offense. I love what they're doing down there. I do think they get it done this week. LSU's defense just since 2023 has just been abysmal. So not really sure what they're looking at or what they're trying to do defensively, but it's not getting the job done. So give me LSU to lose that game at home, which is going to be shocking to some of the Tigers fans. But we want to head down to the big state of Texas again this week. It's the fair, and it's also that time of year for the Red River rivalry. So that's a tough one to get out. But I know you were talking about the Underdog earlier, but who are you going to go with this week, Jay?
You know what? The Underdog made a great point. Oklahoma, Brent Venables. Give me Oklahoma and Brent Venables in an upset over Texas.
I'm going horns down this week. All day, every day, horns down. Give me the Boomer Sooners. I think they get the job done. Defense wins that football game. So next up, Big Ten, Penn State, USC, another huge one, Jay. This one's another game with some playoff implications. Does Penn State finally get the game that they trip up on, or is this one that they continue to roll on with over the Trojans?
Penn State loses in this game to USC. I called this a couple weeks ago. Penn State was not the real deal, and they stumbled into a win. Guess what? You're not going to stumble into this one. USC gets the win.
So I'm gonna head up with you on that one as well. I think this is finally the week that Penn State does trip over themselves. I think they always tend to find a way to lose 1 or 2 games a year that they shouldn't lose. So give me the Trojans as well this week. I think they finally get that job done as well. And then we're gonna head down to the SEC again. This one's typically a really big rivalry game, Jay. This one's gonna be against the Gators and Tennessee. So does Florida get it done, or does Tennessee continue to roll?
Tennessee is a team that is ticked off after last week's loss. I would not want to be Florida in this game, and they're coming to Tennessee. That crowd's going to be hot, and I'm telling you right now, Tennessee's going to get the win.
I think so too. Obviously, I got an up close and personal view of Tennessee earlier in the season. That defensive line is probably one of the best in the country. I think they do get it done this week as well. And then the last two games we got a game of the week coming up, but this one's another, for me, it's close to my heart. We're going to NC State and Syracuse. So the Orange have not won in Raleigh since they've been in the ACC. So, Jay, are you going with the Orange or are you going with the whole pack of wolves this week?
Well, I went with the whole pack of wolves last week thinking they was going to be able to take out Wake Forest, and Wake Forest was able to get a win that they shouldn't have got in NC State. Syracuse was able to get a win that we didn't think they was going to get by going and beating a top 25 team in UNLV, though they are without their star quarterback. I'm going with Syracuse this week. I think NC State's just got some issues that they've got to resolve. If they can resolve in this game, good, but I don't think it's going to happen. Give me Syracuse by 1 point.
I like it. But I'm going with the not so fast, my friend. Last week, NC State's offense finally started to show a little bit of the abilities that they had. Their freshman receivers finally started to get some separation. Justin Jolie finally got his first touchdown of the season as well. So I'm going to continue with Dave Doran getting the job done against Syracuse at home. I think they are going to get their first win this week. So give me them. And then last but not least, Jay, this is our ultimate game of the week. It's going to be the Bucknuts against the Ducks. So I know that you have some really good thoughts on this one. So who are you going to go with?
Without a shadow of a doubt, I will be an Oregon Duck fan this weekend. I do not, will not, shall not ever be anything but everybody against Ohio State. I do not like Ohio State. I don't care how good their team is. I'll pick Akron over Ohio State. So give me Oregon over Ohio State. I don't care what the score is, just as long as they beat them.
I'm going to go the other way, Jay. I got to make up some ground again this week. Give me Ohio State. I think they're too tough. They're too physical. They're going to get the job done. They got one of the best receivers in the country as well. So I'm taking Ohio State to get the job done. I don't think Oregon's ready for that one yet. But those are all of our games for this week, Jay. It's an amazing slate of games. Again, we're going to be able to come back next week and give our thoughts and reviews on this one as well. But, our last but not least guy, the guy that we always love having on the show, the guy from our Sports Illustrated correspondent who covers Notre Dame. He's going to be doing the Notre Dame Stanford preview for us. We talked about that game in our picks too. But Nathan's going to give you his thoughts from the Irish perspective this week. And he's going to be brought to you by Seek Jesus. SeekJesus.com is another one of our supporting sponsors for the show. Thanks again, Nathan, and we hope you take it away, and thanks for your thoughts. Welcome back into the show again. This is, again, another one of our favorite parts of our show again every weekend. We welcome back from our Sports Illustrated staff writer for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Welcome back to the show again, Nathan. How have you been this week? And we get to talk a little Notre Dame football again.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting week. I was actually up in your down in your neck of the woods from Monday through Wednesday. I was in Charlotte, so not too far away at least, but definitely in the same state.
Did you head over to tip off this week?
Say again.
Did you go to tip off this week? Is that what you were doing down in Charlotte?
No, we had the baseball fall meetings or like the fall summit there. So I was there for work, and then
nice.
Yeah, but it was interesting to me because like you hear all the hurricane talk, and obviously it's Charlotte's more inland, right? But I'm sitting there and I'm like, how can a hurricane be so close, but also like we have perfect weather at the same time? And it was pretty crazy to me.
Yep. You guys have had a whirlwind of recruiting stuff going on over there in the basketball thing too. So we'll get into that with you a little bit later on in the season. But
yeah,
you guys have definitely been doing the job on the trail there too. So so it's gonna be fun to talk about that. We tipped off ACC tip off this week too. That's why I was thinking that you might be down there doing that for media too. So it was good to see the coaches from Notre Dame talk about their team this year and how they feel like they're going to be good. But, we're in football mode right now, so it's going to be another month or so before we get up out of that. So I'll
sure.
definitely let you talk this week. You guys got a pretty good matchup, another rivalry game with Stanford this week. So I'll let you give your thoughts and what your keys to the game are going to be for this week for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've talked every week about just kind of getting the offense more and more on track, and I feel like over the last several weeks they've played better overall. And now that you're coming off of a bye week, you had a pretty good offensive day against Louisville at times, but then at other times it was kind of stagnant. But again, that's a pretty good defense, pretty good football team. Ironically enough, obviously they go out and lose to SMU, who's also a good football team,
Yep.
and they weren't able to kind of get past that Notre Dame loss, right? But yeah, now you have Stanford. It's a home game. It is a rivalry, obviously, but the Stanford defense shouldn't pose too many issues. I think 3 out of the 4 times they've played a Power 4 opponent this year, they've given up at least 31. The one time they didn't was against Syracuse, which I think we're starting to learn is more of a mediocre team than kind of maybe a breakout team that some people thought at the beginning of the year. Probably should have lost to UNLV last week as well, in all honesty. And obviously UNLV is a pretty good program this year, but that's still a program that Syracuse should beat most of the time, and it went down to the wire. And like I said, probably should have lost. But yeah, just talking like more on the Notre Dame side of things. Stanford got blown out against Clemson. They didn't play well against Virginia Tech. I forget what the other ACC team they played, or the other Power 4 team that they played that they didn't beat, but gave up, I think it was TCU. I think they gave up 34 against TCU as well. And, TCU is, again, not a very good program this year. Virginia Tech's kind of been up and down, and obviously Clemson's been kind of on a roll recently. And I think that's what we're going to see out of Notre Dame this week, in my opinion, is much better offensive numbers, probably somewhere in between like the Purdue and Louisville numbers offensively, where you're not going to get up to like 66 points or whatever it was, but I do think Notre Dame can score in the 40s pretty easily if they play their cards right. And their defense is so good that I don't think that even with Ashton Daniels back and Alec, I don't even know how to say his last name all the time, but Alec Ayamore or whatever, the really good wide receiver that they have. I'm not sure that that's enough of a threat offensively to really keep this game within reason for Stanford as the game goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think Notre Dame's defense, we've talked about it for a few weeks now. I'm pretty sure they're very elite this year. They really played really good football throughout the season. So it's going to be another really interesting game in the ACC. Stanford's really gotten to the point where they're really struggling now that they've started to hit the conference play. And this is going to be another tough game for them. They're coming to you guys. So hopefully it'll be another easier week for y'all to get your offense a little rolling. I think it'll be a tougher game defensively, but I still think for you guys, I think it'll be a good test to see if you guys can continue to progress on offense too. So tell us, who do you think is going to be kind of your players to watch for this week? Who do you think is going to have a great game up there?
Yeah, so I mean, all eyes are on. I mean, I know obviously football is a quarterback-driven sport, but all eyes are going to be on Riley Leonard. Obviously, with him being the transfer, making a lot of money in the NIL space, and someone who has gotten better throughout the season, but we still haven't really seen like that huge breakout from a passing standpoint. That's kind of where I hope, and I think Notre Dame's going to try to get that going this week, where maybe we see that first 250, 300-yard passing day potentially. But at the same time, you get around the red zone or something like that, and you're still going to want to utilize his legs because he's just so good down there. Or on, in third, fourth, and short, it's hard not to utilize that kind of weapon when you have it. But I do think that against Louisville specifically, they really tried to start pushing the ball. They really tried to start pushing the ball down the field, specifically early on, and they had some success. And the key to him is really just not having the negative plays when you pass the ball down the field. And what I mean by that is obviously turnovers. I can live with incomplete passes as long as it like the effort's there to try to get that going, so you can at least keep the defense honest. And against Louisville, and Miami of Ohio specifically, those two teams, when they did throw the ball down the field, it was either completed, it was a pass interference call, which helped Notre Dame, move the ball in that direction, or it was incomplete. And like I said, I can live with those three outcomes, if if as long as you're not turning the ball over, which he hasn't done in a while now, specifically at least from an interception standpoint.
Yeah, Riley's been really good at protecting the football, and he did that at Duke too. So I mean, that was kind of one of the big things that he was really known for, was being able to decide when to pull it and when to pull it. When to pull the string from the throw and when to pull it and run. So he's been really good and been really efficient for you guys this year, and I think that's really helped your team really get where they are, which is good to see. I mean, it's good for all of these teams to kind of get back to doing what we know that they're capable of. I mean, it's good to see the Notre Dames and the Clemsons and, these teams that are traditionally good teams get back to doing what they're doing. So it's been really good watching you guys this year, watching the growth that's come along for you as well. So hopefully you guys are going to be able to serve again. Hopefully you guys will be able to take out Stanford. I'm not a huge Stanford fan, so that's my big deal this week. I'm trying to kind of give them some love for the new teams for the ACC, but at the same time, they need to kind of figure out what big boy football looks like. So that's what we're trying to show them this week. But definitely, I definitely look forward to seeing what you guys are capable of too, because I really do think that you guys are a playoff football team, especially if you guys can get past USC too. So looking forward to another good week on that too. I'll let you kind of give what your final thoughts are, what your score predictions are going to be, what you think's going to go down on Saturday.
Yeah, so I'm predicting it to be pretty in favor of Notre Dame this week. It's kind of, I guess you could maybe think of it as a bold prediction of sorts, because I think the spread's 23.5. So from that perspective, it's not really a bold prediction. I have Notre Dame winning like 41, 42, somewhere in that range. And I think Stanford's able to maybe put up a couple touchdowns and a field goal, or 2 field goals and a touchdown. So I think my final score prediction for SI was 42-13, somewhere around that. Similar to the Clemson game, similar to the Virginia Tech game, but just a little bit more points. And I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is, as good as Ashton Daniels is from he's much better than the quarterback they had in last week against Virginia Tech. He's still not a very good passer. He's a threat on the run or on the ground. And I think, at least in recent years, that's something that Notre Dame has been really successful at stopping if you're one-dimensional in that aspect. So if you can only pass, they're really good at stopping you. If you can only run, they're pretty good at stopping you. It's really the guys that are effective both ways. And that's, that's for everybody. If you can be effective on the ground and through the air as a passer, I mean, you're going to be a difficult guy to stop. And at least for the time being, I don't see Daniels being that guy. And I think, like I said, I think it's going to be tough sledding for Stanford. The one thing I'll give them credit on is I think their head coach specifically is a really good play caller, and I think he's going to have Stanford back to being like a perennial top 30 to 25 team here in the next couple of years. They're just not there yet from a recruiting standpoint and a talent standpoint on their actual roster, and so it's going to be tough in the trenches. It's going to be tough when you get into like the nitty gritty of the actual football game, and I think that's really where it's going to be won or lost this week.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. Notre Dame is always fantastic in the trenches. So I definitely had them covering as well this week on our game day picks as well. So definitely looking forward to another good week of Notre Dame football. I know you were enjoying the week off a little bit last week, but now you get to get back into it again and get to writing all your good stuff. So tell us again, lastly, where we can find your good content too, and then we'll get you on your way.
Yeah, so obviously just Notre Dame Fighting Irish on SI. If you Google that, it'll take you right to our page. Notre Dame on SI is our Twitter handle as well. And then my Twitter handle is Nathan_Urbach. So you can find me there with all my content specifically.
Awesome. Well, you guys definitely write good articles. Make sure you guys get out there and support him as well this week. So looking forward to another good week, Nathan. Hope you have a good rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your college football. And we'll definitely see you again soon.
Awesome.
Thank you so much again, Nathan, for giving us your insights there on the Notre Dame game for this week. We're looking forward to probably one of the best slates of games we're going to have all year, Jay. This is going to be a phenomenally great weekend of college football. As always, thank you so much to all the sponsors who support our show. Thank you for always being a big part of what we do. We try to cover as many games and as many conferences as we can each and every week. Jay, I'm excited to finally relax on Saturday and enjoy a non-working and non-fan visit to Raleigh this week. So we're going to enjoy some college football. I know you're excited about it too. But once again, we look forward to all of our teams trying to get their wins, get their things done. But we appreciate everybody tuning in again. So make sure you tune in again next week as we review the week that was for week 6. But this is me signing off. Jay, thank you so much again for joining the show again. We always have fun, and thank God for football.
TGFF, thank God for football. Game day. 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 You have tuned in to another episode of Thank God for Football, brought to you by the Fanboys, powered by Greenville Sports Media.